$315,000 to be given out, and it's down to 6. Blondie, Colclough, Bazzah, Hearn. For Ian Fraser, the short stack, will it end in tears? There's a fin on the table. Jani, Sointula, and Dave Clayton. And of course, don't forget about the Piranha here at the partypoker.net European Open final table. I love this game, this poker. You can jump out of a plane, but you won't get the same rush. You can go face to face with a roaring lion, but you won't display the same courage. And you can fly to the moon, but you won't feel as high. Poker doesn't get much better than this. 16 weeks of tears of joy and sighs of despair. And now, it's just a few more hours till someone's mitts are all over the trophy. Not to mention, tightly holding on to a top prize of $125,000. I'm Jesse May, and with me is snooker champ and poker pro Steve Davis. Steve, it's been a great tournament, and though it may all end in tears, surely tonight will be a fantastic final.
Yes, especially as there's such a fantastic mix of players, and they've all deserved to be here.
Last week, the semifinal was a bit different from the first week, a grueling affair. Last week, all fireworks off the bat.
The second semi-final was bizarre. 2 players out before the blinds had increased in the first half an hour. That left 4 players down to play to 3 places. It got a bit tight, it got a bit worrying, but finally you got the 3.
And now it's time to get going. Let's have a quick recap of who's at the final table, how much they got, and where they're seated. First up to choose their seat, Steve, is Ian Frazer.
Yes, he showed great resolve in getting to the final, and even though he's the lowest stack, the old saying, if you're in it, you can win it, is the attitude he will bring to this table. Jani Sointula, second lowest in chip stack. He'll be feared by everyone around the table. This man they call the Hellraiser has some catching up to do, chip-wise, but that won't faze him at all.
Pyrah, the Piranha, really a wild card here.
Yes, he certainly is the X factor in the equation, but has he got the X factor? He's a relative newcomer to the big time, admits to being a bit out of his depth here, but he certainly has one important attribute: bravery.
The chairman of the board is next, Bazzah Hearn.
His 5th TV final table in 7 appearances. Regardless of Barry's own opinions on his standing within the game, you've got to put him right up there with the pros.
Dave Clayton, $286,000.
Yes, he's been so impressive throughout this event, it's hard to envisage him out of the top 3 after the day is done. Giant on the UK European poker scene, still waiting for a big TV breakthrough, and as joint chip leader, this could be his night.
Every player on this final table already into serious money, but where they finish will determine how much they get paid. Let's have a look at that prize structure. $315,000 on offer. 6th place will receive $20,000, and then moving up $25,000, $30,000 into the big money in the top 3, with the winner receiving that $125,000 in cash plus the trophy. So given that prize structure, Steve, what are the tactics going to be in place for this final table? And remember, they're all going in there with staggered chips.
That's right. That's important. It's not just a level chip field. All of a sudden, you're going with what you had in the semi-finals when it was down to 3. Important, obviously, every time a player gets knocked out, you move up the ladder. You can't fail to notice that.
And of course, Ian Fraser, Jani Sointula, they're here, but they're not really fancy because they're short stacks. Will they just give it a flyer?
Well, they are short stacks. They could be respected for being in that position, but I think really there's no need to panic. They're not at that stage, even so they're the low stacks.
Well, someone who's been at lots of final tables, the big ones, the small ones, the all ones from every position, is former world champion Phil Hellmuth.
Here we are in the finals with 6 players starting with 6 different chip stacks. This hasn't happened so far. So one thing that these players have to understand is if they made it here, if they made it this far, they're playing good. Stick to your game plan. But if you're a little bit short, you're going to have to be a little bit more aggressive because you know what? You don't want to ante off all of your chips and finish 6th or 5th. You want to play to win from every spot. So if you're a little bit short, you can be a little bit more aggressive. If you have a ton of chips, I would kind of do the opposite of what regular advice would be, and I'd make sure that I make the final 3. Yes, if everybody's passive and you have all the chips, you can make some steals. Play to win.
And we're joined by the 2 chip leaders at this final table, Dave Colclough and Dave Clayton. Dave, what is the proper perspective to have on a chip lead? Is it a cushion or a weapon?
Well, I think we only have slight chip leads, to be honest. So while we're only just a little bit ahead of the field, for me it's a cushion. Should I get up to like maybe 400,000 or somewhere where I'm at least twice my nearest opponent, then I'd maybe use it as a weapon. But I don't think the lead's big enough, to be honest, to be treated as a weapon at the moment. It's a cushion.
Dave Clayton, I mean, do you think the same thing, or do you think the smaller stacks are worth beating up on?
No, I think the same as Dave, really. I think the aim is not to lose your chip lead, obviously, by just bluffing away your stack. So I think really it's be cautious, but also slightly aggressive when it's called for.
Now, Dave, this is a bit of a Cinderella story for you so far this tournament. You in your heat, you were down very low and came back. In the semifinal, down to 2 cards and you spiked it. There's a bit of a TV duck on your shoulders. Do you feel that power?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens today. It's going to be difficult to get down from 284,000 all the way down to 30,000 or 10,000 and back up again. So it could be interesting watching today.
Are you ready? Can you feel it buzzing? Money's going to be falling from the sky. So join us in a moment for the kickoff to this final table of the partypoker.net European Open. Join us after this. Well, have you ever seen a final table lineup like this? I haven't. I don't think you have, Steve. So with bated breath and tongues agog, let's get over to the table. We'll be guiding you through. This is it, the main event. 6 players on all corners of this table, and one of them gonna walk away with the top prize of $125,000, but more importantly, the trophy and the title. And each player beginning with a staggered chip, and there's a new chip in play, that green $10,000 chip. Of course, the yellows still worth $1,000 each, the blues $2,000, and the reds $5,000. Another look at that starting chip count. It's Clayton and Colclough, Dave's joint leaders with 286 each. Barry Hearn and Andy Pyrah, 182,000, 174,000 respectively. And the short stacks, Jani Sointula with 140,000 and Ian Fraser trailing with 132,000, but that can all change quick. I think the interesting question for me right now is who will set the pace in this game?
Yes, and also how will the low stacks decide to go about their business? Obviously, the 2 low stacks have around the corner Dave Colclough and Dave Clayton to get past.
Well, I just find you interesting.
Jani Sointula on seat 1, and in seat 6, Pyrah.
Yeah, I mean, Jani is going to be a little boxed in. He may have to play very conservative for just that reason, with those 2 big stacks on his left. But This game's starting out right now, and look at Dave Clayton. Is that a sign or what?
14,000
Pocket
total.
kings off the bat under the gun.
Marvellous timing to get them. Actually,
Pass.
mistakenly put Andy Pyrah
Pass.
as perhaps the most inexperienced on the low chip stack. Sorry, it's
Pass.
Ian Fraser to Dave Colclough's left and sandwiched the two big stacks.
You obviously didn't watch
Well, the bet is 14,000. It'll be 10,000 now on Colclough, who has the same stack as Dave Clayton, and 10,000 to call. Does he want to peek at a flop? It would not be advised.
Does he feel that it's too much chance that
Yes, 14,000
Clayton's
total.
just trying it on, and it's worthwhile
So it's a raise of
calling
10.
to see how it goes?
Now, three
Call.
of these players have played against each other, and so have the other three, but Clayton and Colclough have never met. So this will be the first hand they're playing together, and Clayton with a big advantage,
Ooh.
and this is bad for Colclough.
Yeah, usually the big
Yeah.
stacks don't like to get involved with each other.
20,000.
Now Colclough's put himself in a bit of a spot, really.
Well, we saw in one of the semifinals a big pocket pair going up against top pair on the flop, and it went horribly wrong. Do you think Colclough could do everything in this pot?
Well,
Call.
Colclough's an experienced player. He's hit his pair. He can't ask for much more than that. He'd like to hit two pair, though. Three clubs might
Check.
slow everybody down.
Both checked.
Yeah.
It slowed Clayton down. He shouldn't have done, but oh, there's four clubs. Can you believe Colclough has made the flush? Does he know he's in front though?
It's a monster draw out here. The flush wins
Yeah.
right now, two pair, and
Check.
Dave Clayton checks, shows the kings, but the flush is good. And how's that for Second City?
Well, they really slowed up. Two experienced players deciding to put the brakes fully on there.
Dave Colclough didn't realize he had a flush, but we can see it here. When the flop came down, kings were leading the pair of jacks, but four clubs on board by the river, and Dave Colclough slides that 10 of clubs in to take the pot.
Pass. Pass. Pass.
This could be Hearn's first chance to get in, but he's not going to be allowed
Raise.
it. Fraser raises,
12,000
and
total.
puts them in the
Pass.
mucker.
Base on the button, and wow,
This is lovely for Pyrah.
Re-raise.
it is
'Cause it
because
looks like he's getting busy, doesn't it?
Ian may just have the hump.
Yes, and he's got cards to get the hump with.
25,000 more. 37
And he would be an
total.
underdog should he go with this.
It's almost a cold deck here for Ian Fraser. What else can he think but that Andy's an adit merchant?
Yep. And also, so far, Ian Fraser hasn't talked to Andy Pyrah, so I would say he's considering calling. He's not lightened the tone as yet.
Fraser is one man who does not like to be pushed around. If there's a line to be drawn in the sand, he'll draw it.
He's not got that many chips to mess about with. That could be the deciding factor.
Look how cool Andy is. Glasses off and rubbing his eyes. But he's interested.
Trying to get a read on him, trying to pick up whether he looks relaxed.
Well, we're free hands on the spin handy like that, surely.
And that means he's going to throw them away.
Don't mind showing you.
Huh?
Don't mind showing you.
You don't mind showing them?
Don't get too busy.
He might have just...
Oh,
he's going all in! He will show him! And Ian Fraser's having none of this, but he is going to find some of that. There's no way Pyrah's laying
Early
this
drama.
down.
no way.
Potentially.
Can't be. If
64,000
Andy Pyrah wants to
more.
win this, he's got to gamble to some degree, and what a fantastic gamble it is. He's the favourite. You can't get better than that. There's only three cards that Fraser can really hit. Three aces. He's having a little count up, but it was
Call.
automatic.
All in and a call.
Circumstances dictated it, and we have an all-in right away. 2 queens for Andy Pyrah, and it's Ian Fraser all in and needing that ace.
Well, perhaps a little bit of impatience from Fraser, but he's got the reward, and it's a cruel blow for Pyrah.
That ace is just what the doctor ordered, and Pyrah needs a pill. 2 cards to come, and only 2 queens in the deck, or Ian Fraser will have stuck his head in it and come up smiling. He's done it. Double through for Ian Fraser, and Pyrah is wounded. Cruel game, this first.
Certainly is.
Oh, ecstatic. It's my first final. Christ, it's my first final anywhere. Slightly nervous. I'm probably going to need a few toilet breaks. I'm afraid. I'm absolutely scared witless of coming up against these 5 players. I'm half tempted not to turn up.
Just how many levels there are of judgment. You can outthink yourself as well in trying to work out what another person's up to.
You can.
And so often that is the case. And shows 6-4 of hearts. Wouldn't be his best cards. And he's just called from first position. Doesn't want to see anybody with anything large in their hands. They're not massive, but he's been priced in because there's been a caller. Colclough probably will be priced in as well with the Jack Queen, and looking for another family pot, and that may not be the outcome.
I don't think so.
How much to raise?
Well, Clayton got burnt with his kings the first pot of this final, and I don't think he means to make it any too cheap.
And what he wants to do now is to make sure that he limits the field to some degree. He would be hoping that perhaps he gets 1 caller.
It's a raise of 16,000, which was the size of the pot, and Hearn tosses quickly. Jani Sointula says, "Thanks, Barry. Look what you got me into."
So Sointula has 3s. If he knew Colclough was going to call as well, would he then call to get a bit more of a cheaper way in, or is he just not worth a bother with the 3s?
Well, Jani's got more to worry about as far as stack size than Colclough, doesn't he? I mean, Jani, 16,000 is over 10% of his stack right now. But,
well, Colclough, once again.
You can see Dave Clayton saying, "Oh no, not this again. You cracked my kings. Now I've got aces." It's
Well, he played them a bit slow last time. Do you think this is the time to now play them a little bit quicker? Oh, now well, there's a king on board on the next card that possibly would do Colclough some favours. He's just looking at that king.
25,000.
It's a nice sized bet. It's pretty serious.
Oh, geez, that's a big reach for a stick. I hope it's just for messing about with. The king is he just wants a king. He's called for a king.
He has. Little does he know if he hits a queen, it'll be curtains. 3 aces against a pair and a straight draw.
Doesn't change anything. Now, he's got to bet the right amount just to stop in a way, the flush draw.
60,000.
It's just over half the pot.
Well, that means that Colclough's not getting the right odds for a flush draw.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So the only way he would be calling is if he felt that he could win more chips after that last card comes. And this is a decision that possibly will be the time for him to change direction.
Well, Dave has to work through this hand and try and put Dave Clayton on a hand. And that raise from the small blind, do you think that... Is there any...
He's got to put him on an ace, surely. He's got to. So therefore he's behind. And he's looking to hit a jack or a king, I suppose. 7 cards.
Pass.
He's laid it down. Don't know if he knew how strong Dave Clayton was, but he didn't want to go any further, and that'll settle Clayton's nerves. It doesn't seem like there's any rhyme or reason to when Dave Colclough decides to peel off a flop and when he doesn't.
Pass.
Certainly, it seemed like.
Pass.
Is it an electrical impulse?
Pass.
Or have you actually worked it all out?
Pass. Call. Fair raise.
There's these extra edges that matter in poker. And a limp in. It's Colclough on Clayton. They've both got spades.
It can be painful should spades come. Obviously, there's less chance of that with 4 already out in play. And Colclough clicks his 10 again.
Check. Red checked.
Dave Colclough loves flopping the top pair and checking it. It's oh, it's a huge board right now for
8,000.
Colclough. Top pair, flush draw, and straight draw.
It's down to Clayton to try and not get himself involved in this anymore because of the attractiveness of that second spade. We've seen him raise before in situations during this tournament.
I tell you, if there was ever a good time to fold a flush draw, there's an argument here.
Pass.
He's not getting pot odds, and maybe there's nothing in the pot either.
Seems to have a very good sense of where he is during a hand, doesn't he?
He does. He's been a very impressive player from what we've seen. And of course, he hasn't made that much noise on the live scene, but he's a bit of a demon in online poker, and has certainly, I would say, in the last year, probably played more hands of poker than the rest of the table put together. Except maybe, of course, Jani Sointula, who's dealt a few hands of his own.
The pressure pot continues and starts to reach boiling point. I think the play around the table has meant that there's more pressure on the players now. They feel that nobody's really showing any
12,000
weakness.
total. Pass.
2 face cards in late position for Jani Sointula, and the decision is triple the bet to 12,000.
Oh, Fraser with a decision with the sixes. Very strange decision in some ways. If you defend it and you don't hit a 6, you've just lost your money.
Call.
Unless you're prepared to bluff. You could re-raise and see where you stand that way. That is the option. Oh, when he's hit a 6.
Wow.
But there's 3 diamonds and Sointula's got one of them. If he's going to play, he's got to play this quickly. Doesn't have to necessarily play quickly now. It could be an all-in now.
16,000.
Straight in over the top for everything.
I think you're right.
It's got to be. Anything else, anything that's not a sizable raise, is asking for trouble. Just a flat call, this is dangerous.
What does he put Jani on? Probably an ace, maybe a diamond.
He's got to put into all his chips here, surely.
Of course, if
And a raise.
Raise.
doesn't look like a big raise counted out there. Oh, now he's going for the green.
25,000 more.
16,000 raise of 25,000.
Well, he couldn't know that it'll probably do enough damage unless he wants to go for the diamond.
I mean, Jani's in a situation here where, is there any thought in his mind, do you think, that Fraser might have the king of diamonds? He's counting his chips.
This is a mathematical decision for him, isn't it? He may just not have enough chips for this. Any more chips, he may have been tempted, I feel. This is a big decision. It's going to cost him perhaps all his chips on the next go. That's the problem. If a diamond doesn't come on the next card, he could be asked the question. So this is a straightforward mathematical problem. Does he want to draw to a diamond on the pot odds he's seeing now? Is that correct?
I guess so. I just wonder. Doesn't seem like there's any way he can consider that he's ahead.
Call.
He's called. Obviously, if he hits the diamond,
I guess he's made the decision that Fraser does not have the king. That's his call, his theory. He needs a diamond.
All in.
All in.
as quick as you like, all in.
Pass.
And he earned some money, even though he had to run the gauntlet of that turn card.
It was red as well. Well played by Ian. It was he was gambling a little bit. Didn't make a huge raise, but he got extra money because of it.
Well, yeah, perhaps that's me being a bit scared. I just want to get the money that's in the pot. I don't want to win any more sometimes. That's why I'm sitting here.
Ian Fraser, the big mover on this leaderboard so far. Clayton and Colclough still in front, but Ian Fraser is hot on their heels. Welcome back to the partypoker.net European Open. Jesse May and Steve Davis from up above.
Ian Fraser will be raising with this.
Raised to 15,000.
Hearn.
Pass.
Another high pair. Oh, sorry, another pair.
Pass.
So it's Fraser 15,000 on the.
Ooh.
Oh my!
Oh, this is a matchup made in hell.
A straight race.
Raise.
And Colclough's got the ladies.
They're two of the highest stacks. They don't really want to be fighting with each other.
The thing is, Ian Fraser.
Oh, he's
He
all in.
raised all in.
And the ace king immediately thrown. No, sorry, apologies. I thought it was Dave Clayton.
Colclough has made a massive raise. It's an over raise, a huge one, and the only reason you can assume is because Colclough senses that Ian Fraser is
Sure did.
is a bit of an impulsive man.
Well, he called Pyrah earlier with a lot of less than ace king. He likes a punt. He likes a gamble. He may be tempted. And this could make or break Colclough. If Colclough wins here, he goes massive chip leader.
Same for Fraser.
He's going to get rid of them.
Pass.
And there's an inspired fold.
That was a
great fold.
one of those.
That's how you play
I
them.
don't think I've ever seen you miss an ace or a king.
I think that was a sign of respect from Colclough, that big raise. He did not want to mess with Ian, and I think he kind of sensed that if he put a small re-raise in, then Ian could get all his chips in first.
How would you want to be
It's a dangerous game, this no limit hold'em, isn't it?
You've got to try and read your opponent.
Definitely. I'm glad you passed.
Colclough decided if he's going to raise Fraser, it's going to be a big one.
No, don't want to start coin flipping with you now.
Said I didn't want to take.
You only need one overcard
If I had
normally.
more chips in there, I would have called you.
Glad you didn't then.
Ian Fraser's just won $500,000 on television. Colclough yet to break his TV duck. I think I favored Fraser in that spot in that race as well.
Pass.
It was roughly an even money chance. But there's no need to gamble
Right.
when first out is
Raise.
20,000 and first over the line is 120,000.
more.
It's too much of a difference, really.
21 total.
Fancy
Pass.
your chances
Pass.
better
Come
on,
with a
boys.
bit more gamble.
Maybe Pyrah has taken advantage of the commotion to slip in a raise with the jack high, 15,000, and Fraser has the better hand.
See, you're short enough to go all in on the flop,
Yeah.
whatever you got, ain't you?
I know.
Ain't you?
And this time,
Putting ideas in his mind here.
No, I know he will. Whatever the
He's
flop is,
decided
he'll
to.
go all in. And I could hit my hand and still be behind. What's the raise? 15?
15 more, yeah.
It's not a small raise, although Fraser's got plenty enough to afford it.
Come in, I'll give you a spin.
Call.
well, that's a bit of a punt, wasn't he?
He does. He can be a bee in your bonnet.
All of Mark.
And Pyrah has gotten himself in this. Now he's going to have to get himself out of it. As Ian said,
Just today, actually.
he nearly has to go all in no matter what. There's half as much in the pot as Pyrah
Check.
has in his stack.
All in.
It's well scripted, isn't it?
It's getting
Called
very
it.
personal between you two.
Pass.
I did like him, you know. Always
matches
a
it
friendly,
more,
What do you think of that?
feather.
Well, he talked
Come on,
himself
say
into
what you
doing
mean.
what happened, and
Sorry.
he just gave 15,000 to Andy Pyrah, other than if he hits the flop.
Of course,
But if he hits the
next time if you
ace,
don't show him.
and Andy Pyrah goes all in, he's got the same problem.
Million
Perhaps he's
miles.
hoping to hit trip threes.
Tell you what, there's no shortage of testosterone or courage at this table,
Like
and
saying these guys, 3
certainly
6.
no one is going to
fold themselves into oblivion. It's a tough old game out there.
You sit down at a poker table, it doesn't matter how many times you've been in front of the camera. Sometimes your brain's not your own. I can certainly vouch for that.
Pass. Pass.
All
Raise.
players mixing it up left, right and centre.
15,000 total.
Sure are.
And it must be very difficult to read what's going on around the table, to get a feeling for what's happening.
This is interesting. Barry Hearn,
Called.
well aware that Ian has been aggressive from the button, and with an ace-5 in the small blind, he
Pass.
calls the Fraser raise. We're playing a flop here.
Well, Barry Hearn is out of position. He's first to speak. And it's going to be a difficult one for him to win from here on in. He may have to check here.
I was going to say, do you think it would have been better for Barry to
15,000.
re-raise before the flop, but he's played it stop and go, which is pretty
Yeah.
effective.
Nothing wrong with that. If you're going to try and win it, there's no point in checking. You won't get anywhere doing that. So he's taking a punt that Fraser hasn't got a real hand. Fraser's trying to work it out. If Hearn had hit the queen, would he have not checked? Perhaps he's hit second pair with a 7.
We saw Barry do this move in
Call.
the semifinals a couple times, and he was
Yeah, so it's
bluffing every time. Fraser's called him. Actually, Barry's got the best hand. Ooh, not now.
Now he can check, perhaps. And let Barry bluff some chips off. This is danger. He's taking his time, thinking it through. If he bets and Barry was bluffing, he's not going to get any more action. And Barry's not going to check, so he's going to bet again.
25,000.
It's not a big bet considering the pot size. Less than half.
Fraser's now thinking, have I got him just where I want him? Is there any possibility he could have me just where I don't want to be? It's developing into a big pot.
I'll tell you, it's no fun when you hit the card you were calling for and you still don't like it.
Well, really, he's got to do something. It would be ridiculous to fold after hitting your top pair.
It would be, but he's chosen just to call. And an ace would really ratchet this up.
Barry Hearn's got to put the brakes on here.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry. He's
Fraser,
raised.
yeah.
He said raise,
Raise to
announce raise.
50,000 more.
Well, that allows Barry Hearn to get away without any more damage.
Well, that was sensible. Ian really had to find out where he was at. He couldn't allow another card to fall, could he?
No.
Pass.
And he has taken the pot. Barry says he'd like another shot at that hand. He might have gotten away with it on the turn if the king hadn't popped. Just heard the bell ring. This will be the last hand of the level. They'll be playing 5 and 10,000 after this.
The biggest advantage for
Pass.
Sointula in these circumstances
Raise.
is that he is the dealer currently, so he's got a few more hands before he's got to put in any more money.
Pretty little cards for Barry Hearn. And 6 plus
Raise 15 more. 21 total.
15,000.
Pass.
Round to Sointula. King and an ace, a king. Well, this is an ideal opportunity. Not only can he put them all in, but Barry Hearn may think he's on the bluff, or at least desperate. It's going to be all in.
I knew you was going to do You're such a sweetheart. I knew
Because
you
he knows he's going to do it. Does he talk himself into calling? It's a big laydown, isn't it, to a
How much more?
desperate man?
Well, I guess it is the question, how much more is the first order of business? 21,000 plus about 46,000 more.
I took the 21s in, yeah.
It's a fortunate situation Sointula finds himself
So
in.
we've got 30, 40,
An
46
unfortunate
more.
one in some degree for Hearn because
Call.
He really, I think, has to call.
Well, I mean, the ace-king is the only hand he's really in this kind of trouble against.
Exactly the same,
Timing is everything.
Yeah, and Sointula in a dominating position, but all in. And there's just really nowhere for either of these players to go.
I don't want to see a queen and a king.
This hand's played itself
No,
so
queen
far,
three. Thanks
and
a lot for
Yanni, he's been through too many of these races to count his chickens before they hatch.
I'm after no one normally comes.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, how cruel.
Can you believe it?
This happened yesterday, and then the king came next.
Sointula outdrawn on the flop. He needs a king or he is out in 6th.
Cross
I saw a picture. I didn't like to see that picture.
Interesting card now for Sointula. The 10 will help him as well.
It's given him 4 extra outs.
No king on the river. Happened yesterday. Last week.
You don't want the 10.
He hasn't spotted the 10s. Now he spots the 10s.
Play the 7.
Too late, too soon. Yanni Sointula, Hellraiser, out in 6th place. He did nothing wrong, Steve. Well, Hellraiser has been sent down, but 5 are left. Does Colclough have to figure out a new plan? Clayton's got it all in charge. Fraser's on the move, and the Piranha, he's just chopping at their heels. The man in charge has been steady so far. When will the move come? $10,000 in the big blind. Clayton under the gun. And,
Pass. Pass. Call.
this perhaps, Steve, an indication that Barry suddenly feels comfortable chip-wise at the table.
To call on the button. It's not been that usual a move. Colclough now.
Oh, surely he
Decides
can't be
to
serious.
Smell weakness.
Raise. 24,000 more, 34 total.
Blue raise.
Oh, my!
Well, it's a rush of blood. It's a rush of blood at the right time.
This is good stuff. Talk about the levels
Wow.
these guys are playing on.
It's all timing, isn't it? It's just all timing. When it's your day, it goes right.
Nothing at all. I love that.
And he's telling the truth as well. That's very unlike Barry.
King 9 is nothing at all, is it?
That's the only time tonight I'm trying that, guys. I'm not doing that.
And he's actually been so honest.
That one's in Peter Sellers. Should have been in Peter Sellers' cellar.
I'll tell you what, quiet for the first half hour. All of a sudden, Hearn leading the charge.
Oh, he could have got himself so caught there.
He really could have. What if Dave really had something?
Pass.
Colclough thinking to
No,
himself.
he's got another hand. Does he speculate? Does he do it again? He is, isn't he? He's just about told himself no. Fascinating to watch.
Call.
And Pyrah calls with absolute mincemeat.
Call. No raise.
Well, looking at the other two blinds out there, Pyrah could have had those blinds for a song, but instead he's found himself knee deep in the muck and mire.
Yeah. Donating 10,000 unless something miraculous happens. It would be hard to envisage unless he decides to now go all in that he's going to win this.
Second pair.
26,000.
And that is informational, although 26,000 is pretty expensive for
Yes.
information.
Does what he should have done after that last bet. So it's the right thing to do if he was considering that before the flop. But why did he let them have the cards in the first place? Can he get 26,000 from Dave Colclough out of this whole manoeuvre?
My Lord.
Well, it's a move, isn't it? And it's going to probably work, I think.
Suicidal by Pyrah, and he gets it through.
The rule book and the book is being rewritten by Barry Hearn and Andy Pyrah, playing unconventional poker, and a conventional, experienced professional has to respect. You'll be horrified if he ever sees this on television. Best never send him a DVD of this.
Yeah, If this was a cash game, I think 4 players would pick up their chips and leave.
Pass.
Or actually, they might all just stay because it's so much fun.
Pass.
I still think of the 5 players around
Pass.
the table.
Right.
Colclough's experience will get him into the big money spots. Whether or not he wins is obviously sometimes in the lap of the gods.
Re-raise all in.
Hearn raises, Pyrah re-raises all in with pish, as it's called up in Scotland.
Barry's having to think about it. It was the exact same 2 cards that he called an all-in re-raise
135
against
total.
Ian Fraser last night.
25's the first one in.
And if he thinks Andy's at it, you know he's got the gumption to stick the money in.
What is Andy Pyrah doing?
I think Andy may have finally hung himself here.
What is he doing? It might work, but he's putting himself on offer big time.
This is really over the edge.
Enough to make a dent, isn't it? That make a dent in my car about anything else.
Well, that is the truth.
Can he call it? I don't think he can.
It's a very big raise.
He's brave.
Nope.
He is brave. Pyrah survives. Wow. Wow, he's going to hate him when he sees this video.
I think you better bring some water over to Andy Pyrah. That or a shot of tequila. Oh, my.
He is cool. Perhaps he just doesn't care.
You know, they could take the spots off these cards and the game would still be the same. These guys don't seem to be looking.
The empty seat at the end.
Tell you what, it's hard to find a play of the game for everything we've seen so far, but that's up there for me.
Well, it's just fantastic.
It was right to, it was right to call with the ace king, I think.
Jack, deuce, 10-4. Pyrah's tried them all. It's the 2 queens he doesn't want to get.
Well, as we mentioned right at the start, if Andy Pyrah doesn't run into big cards, he's well capable of winning this tournament by completely putting everybody else off the hands. Here we go with a small pair. Raise for Clayton. Nothing wrong with that. It's only 5-handed.
35,000
Unless
total.
I'm all in.
Re-raise all
Barry
in.
Hearn's had enough.
Yeah, this is a put your foot down, set the stomper on, put the cork in the bottle.
It's a big all-in, though.
What happens if I call?
It's a big all-in.
You still going tomorrow?
You can call, trust me.
Pass.
And, well, there's just no way Dave Clayton's going to call this.
Make a big dent.
224 total.
It was a fair old raise.
Thought not in a million years, but here he is dwelling up.
Well, he's got him covered, but it only leaves him with 90,000, I think. If he puts him on 2 overcards, it's a 50-50, roughly 50-50 split. Not exact, but if he puts him on a higher pair, it's good night, Clayton. Surely he must respect a higher pair.
Pass.
Yeah. I mean, Barry could have been making kind of a move and been on 7s or 8s, and that would have been dastardly, wouldn't it?
Horrible way to be decimated and go out of the tournament. Clayton's got himself in a situation where he doesn't need to have any confrontation at the moment anyway. Just wait for a couple of more players to perhaps bite the dust, but it is getting still pretty crowded up there. Chip counts are pretty level. There's not much separating them.
This has actually become a game, Steve, where the first raise is almost just like saying, come and kick me. It's that second raise that's winning the money time and again.
Perhaps it's time to tighten up, but with the blind so big, it does eat into your stack. Perhaps it's just a time to find some good cards.
Pass. Pass. Pass.
They must have been good cards for Andy to fold them.
Call. No
Barry
raise.
Colclough now calling with the 9s. That's a slow play.
Could get himself into trouble here.
Do you think he's waiting for a raise and then the all-in?
Oh.
Wow.
Wow, that's just perfect.
Now he's going to do some
Check,
damage.
check, both check.
Oh, I tell you, Clayton's very respectful of Colclough. He's got top pair and he's checked.
If it comes a deuce, it could be over.
Well, this will be an unfortunate way to go out. Clayton's done nothing wrong. Now Colclough's going to bet.
16,000.
Clayton's really got a raise. Or does he just call? See where he stands? It's difficult to know whether he can just call to see where he stands and perhaps call it down.
He's respecting the fact that Dave Colclough might have an ace. There's no way he suspects 3 nines. God, what if it comes a queen?
He flat called before the flop. It's another race. It's a full house for Colclough. And that increases the chances that Clayton thinks he's in front.
Yeah, it sure does.
And now Colclough makes it just the right amount.
40,000.
40,000. This would be a massive lay down to get rid of these. He must be aware, though, that he could be on the take, but how can he get away from it?
Well, the thing about this hand, I think, for Clayton is there's really no reason to raise anyway, because he can only get paid off by a hand that beats him. So I think it's either fold or call. I think.
He can't resist. I don't think anybody could resist.
No way. A little raise of the eyebrows from Dave Clayton. Colclough really made that pay. You wonder if the ace hadn't have come, if the sandwich would have gotten even meatier.
That's like a bicycle wheel.
Yeah, the average between these is 240,000. And Colclough, the chip leader, only has slightly more, and Pyrah slightly less.
Worthy of a final, this. All players playing their heart out.
I mean, the great thing is, Steve, average chip stack, 240,000. Blind still 5 and 10, which pretty much means plenty of play from here.
Call.
Different play there from, I know it's a pair of 2s rather than the pair of 4s or 5. Clayton's been raising with low pairs.
I think actually, yeah, it's Colclough in with the deuces, isn't it?
Yeah, he just flat called with the low pair. I know they're lower than the 4s or 5s, but is there a difference between a pair of 2s and a pair of 5s? Obviously a little bit, but in the scheme of things, they're both bad. Colclough's having some lovely cards here. 2 players have hit a 4.
I mean, I guess it's just
Second
the
pair.
Yeah. You know, do you want to win a small pot, lose a small pot, or win a big one, and or win a small pot or?
Was Ian in this? Is he? I'm sorry, I didn't realise. I didn't realise that.
This is dangerous for Pyrah. Pyrah's hit a 4. So's Hearn. And Colclough sitting there with what must look like a monster. Obviously, he doesn't know what the other players have got because he just called, and the big blind and the small blind in were very, very cheaply. I mean, he could have a 3-5.
Is it a call or a raise for Colclough? What's smart here? Does he have to worry about the straight draws?
Raise.
He has to. He has to make sure that nobody gets
66,000 total.
that much value to hit a card.
Pass. 41 to call.
And this is where the danger of Andy Pyrah's style could come and hound him. If he slips the noose here and goes all in, he is going to be dead.
We raise all in.
Oh no. Never mind.
Cool.
And a call.
Dave Colclough has called. And it was just one step too far there for Andy Pyrah, Steve.
You can't keep on getting away with it, and he's got really no way out here. He's got a couple of hearts. That's one way out.
That's just about the only way out. Backdoor flush draw or running full house. It ain't easy.
Couple of jacks.
It ain't happening. And you wondered why Dave Colclough didn't raise before the flop. He's won over 200,000 from Andy Pyrah and knocked the Piranha out in 5th place. But Steve, Andy has left some memories, and he should be proud of his play.
Yes, he should be. He's really been a fearful player, perhaps one step too far, but he'll learn from that.
Was it genius insanity? It's so close. Pyrah tripped up 2 4s against 3 deuces when the money went in. He couldn't catch up, and Colclough with the set has put paid to Pyrah.
For the first few levels, I was trying to play tight. I didn't really want to get involved. I was getting the occasional hand, and I didn't really want to get involved, but I felt obliged to. And you know, I'm gutted. I'm just gutted, to be honest. I'm sick as a parrot.
The guys were joking you with a little bit. They said, 4 hands you haven't raised. Do you think were you aware of that image you had at the table?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's very rare for me to flat call. I think I flat called once with that Jack Deuce, and it's just the way I prefer to play aggressive. You know, I never want to see another card. Simple as that.
Well, you got 25,000 out of it, Andy, and I think you got a long way to go here. You're going to be a force.
Cheers, Jesse. Thank you.
4 left, and Steve, we talked for a while. I mean, Colclough looked like he was sliding back, losing control, and now, all of a sudden, he's closing on half the chips.
Well, I think he changed his game plan slightly to try and trap, and it worked.
And it is perfect because Ian Fraser has just said that he doesn't really believe Clayton all the time. So if he wants to get the hump, he is going to get in trouble.
Well, it's a perfect time to get the hump. If you've got kings.
Oh my!
Oh, and if he puts
over from where Andy left off.
He's putting an act on, and that's a good act as well.
This is a cold
not too much acting, and he can get him.
Clayton's not getting away from this.
Clayton's not going to get away from this. What is it? And I don't believe you all-in job. 82,000 a pot. Fraser.
That sounds like a very small pair to me.
Oh, he's moody in it. It's a big act. This is what a diabolical act.
I think he may be hammering it up too much. Is he?
Yes. You got to be careful of doing that because. What's the move going to be?
At the end of the day, I think these are just 2 huge hands, 4-handed, Steve. I can't see any way out for either one.
I think instead of doing the act, he should have just moved all in.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not as good an all in now with all the acting. That's only my personal opinion. I'm not Dave Clayton. The time taken. I may smell a rat.
All in. Call.
Oh, it didn't make any difference. It had to be a call. And Clayton will be gutted. Took it well. And he's got aces as outs.
He has. I believe that Clayton has Fraser covered at this stage. Not by a lot, but because of the last pot, by enough to still be breathing if he can't catch up. It's Fraser all in, but Clayton really gasping for aces. This pot massive. There's no ace. That board is safe.
Clayton's going to be very low in chips after this. He's down to about 60,000.
Tell you, Dave Clayton must be thinking, I've played such a great game to come this far and be cruelly denied.
He's done nothing wrong, but he looks to be going out in 4th place. But for miracles, he won't be out, but he'll be so low as to be out.
Here's the river. Full house wins the day. And Dave Clayton.
Big blow.
Yeah. Well, it didn't seem to matter what happened before the flop there, Steve. The money was going in. It's sometimes the cards just play themselves.
Exactly. It was good timing as well for Fraser. Bad timing for Clayton. Ace Queen. He'd already had Ace King beforehand. It was the perfect time for Fraser to pretend that he got fed up with the raising. Nothing on the flop for it helped at all for Clayton. No inspiration whatsoever. Ended up a full house for Fraser.
3 more blues.
And this game, all of the sudden, taking on a very different dimension. 2 huge stacks. Barry Hearn, who's done nothing wrong, and Dave Clayton, who's basically out of ammo.
Well, he's got 74,000 chips left. It's enough for an all-in manoeuvre that could create a bit of fear. He has got hope. Barry Hearn on 250,000 must be thinking it would be nice to get this man out now. I move up the ladder into the serious money.
You know, one thing about this final table, we've seen a fair share of bad beats, but not one man has flinched. They all take it well. You could,
Yeah, the early heats of some of the events are great fun watching the frustration on the players' faces. But you're getting down to some proper poker players who know how to win and know how to lose with the same grace.
All in.
And it's good play.
Cool.
All in with the King Jack.
Call.
Barry Hearn calls it the Ace-8. Typical play from both players. Nothing wrong with that. And Barry Hearn could be the one to finally put the nail in the coffin.
well, he could. Interestingly enough, you said Dave Clayton isn't that short.
No.
If he wins this pot, it'll actually be pretty precarious for Barry Hearn. It'll take a big bite out of him.
It was a quick call from Hearn. He obviously didn't believe he had an ace. He was right, and he's still in front.
Clayton down to 6 cards in the deck, 3 kings, 3 jacks. It's very lonely out there.
And no running clubs.
And only one chance to do it.
He's on by a fingernail now. He's played so well in this tournament.
Oh.
Look at it.
It only took 2 hands. Dave Clayton was on top of the world, and now he's deep in the ocean. He didn't deserve that. Who would have thought Clayton hero to 0 in just 2 hands, leaving Ian Fraser with a big smile on his face. And among the 3, Hearn better get a move on. But it's Dave Colclough still on top, and how capable is he? Any predictions on when the confrontation comes, who it will be between?
I think it will be between Ian Fraser and another.
I have to agree with
I
you.
do get the feeling that he's ready for confrontation. Obviously, as a winner of a big event recently, his confidence will be sky high. He's enjoyed his moments. He's ridden his luck, and things have gone his way. So therefore, it makes him in a good frame of mind. He's not likely to be giving up big blinds that easily.
The other thing is, there's no saying if he'll be ahead or behind. I mean, you know, because of the way he played, the image he gave off, he got all that action when he had the 2 kings.
45,000 in a pot, and none of them having anything ultra fantastic.
Or anything at all.
And still, nobody with anything. First, the bet wins.
Edge to Fraser, I think.
Check.
And Fraser. He must be thinking about it.
25,000. Pass.
Gone are the big over raises, or are they? You can't get your breath if he puts in a massive one here. Oh, that's great play.
Re-raise.
That really is fantastic play. What a read.
55.
What timing. No wonder he's such a top player on the European circuit. It was the ideal situation for Fraser to bluff, wasn't it?
Tell you what, if you said it was 10 o'clock and it was 9:57, Colclough would call you out on it.
But great thinking there. I mean, if possibly Fraser did have top pair with a queen, perhaps he would have checked. Would he have? He probably would have checked. I don't know. I'm trying to work it all out. So if he's got second pair,
I mean, Fraser's king high is in mammoth shape right now.
But his brain's not. He's got to know that he's beaten, even though he's not. Well, this can't possibly be any type of action further in this hand. Surely not. Oh, he's a bit uncomfortable on the seat.
I just don't.
I don't know what he's thinking.
I
It can't
don't
possibly.
think. No. But he definitely smells a rat. But acting on it is would be foolhardy because the bets have gotten big now. You know, he'd have to stick in just about half his stack to send a message.
It's too risky, surely. I do feel it. Oh no.
Oh my.
No. Wow. This is a monstrous thing to do. Surely he can't be thinking this. Is he trying to get some reaction from Colclough?
I guess it's about a 30,000 raise right now. So Fraser's got about 70,000 there, which would be 30 plus 40. It's just a tickle.
Look at Colclough looking at him.
But
keeping his eyes on him. Doing what he always does. It's got to be a fold. It's just got to be. Surely.
No, he's going back for more.
Wow, what drama. And he hasn't done anything. What drama.
Re-raised.
It is a re-raise. I think it's
70,000.
it's almost a minimum raise. It's 40,000 more, and Colclough's having a look now.
40,000 more to Dave.
This is
Well,
huge
we've
by
had-
Fraser.
We've had everything here. It can't be another one.
Pass.
Marvellous play. You just cannot get your breath.
That is how he won $500,000. Follow through the bluff, the rebluff, the re-rebluff. Have you ever seen it?
That's just marvellous play. Well, it's either marvellous or foolhardy, or marvellous or foolhardy. It goes backwards and forwards, one way or the other. You've got to have some guts to play this game, haven't you?
Chip leader with 534,000.
That's the first hand we've had.
And he earned it the old-fashioned way.
Obviously, I want to win it as much as anyone else. My style is not to sit back and wait, so I think I'm going to come out as I normally do. Have a go with some lesser cards, and I hope that I a few flops.
Colclough protecting his chips like a mother hen there, and ace on the button looks to be a raise.
Raise to 50,000 total. Pass.
2.5 times the big blind, and Barry Hearn has found a monster.
Is there any other bet but all in?
What about call, wait for an ace to not come on the flop, and then go all in? Don't suppose there's any other bet other than the raise, but he's raising.
Re-raise.
Nothing wrong with that. How much? I think it's going to scare off Colclough anyway.
Well, it should do. I mean,
Colclough's nowhere to a raise with ace-4.
Colclough doesn't really have enough chips in front of him to stick any more money in without sticking the lot in, does he? Barry Hearn only has about 240,000. He's going to stick it all in, and there's no way the ace-4 is big enough, is it?
240,000 more. I'll take the 50 cents.
So there is some plenty of play left in this match, but it's getting to this point where Colclough losing 50,000 is pretty wounding.
I don't believe for a moment he can call this. He doesn't get to be one of the top players in the European circuit by putting his tournament chances on the line so easily. He can't believe Barry Hearn's bluffing. Surely he can't.
What is he thinking about, Steve?
No idea now. It's gone past a joke.
Okay, pass.
Pass.
Thought it was getting serious there for Colclough. I couldn't believe.
There's no other explanation that he just suspects Barry. Yeah, well, he had to, did he?
What, all in?
I don't know.
He didn't get where he was today by doing things like that.
But that pot, momentum swing there, and also a stage swing. Those red stacks look tall, but they don't mean much compared to Fraser's Green Mountains.
Colclough with 13 times the big blind, and he picks up an ace. That ace has been on view quite often recently.
It has.
Oh, there's some big cards out. We've just seen around the table. Won't give you any more information as yet. Colclough's considering a raise.
Well, he has to raise ace-8 on the button. It's
Raise.
compulsory.
What's Fraser got?
I wonder if he's committed.
55,000
thrown them
total.
away.
Pass.
Ooh.
Oh,
35 to call.
he's re-raised with King Queen before. That was when there was a call. He raised with the King Queen. Now this is to a raise.
The thing is,
does he call with King Queen? Does he re-raise? Or just a call?
I mean, Dave Colclough has got that stack size where
Call.
he probably would have been committed, I think, to anything, and Barry Hearn may have sensed that and did not want a chance that Colclough does have the ace. He's going to peek at the flop, and he may be playing stop and go here.
Yes. If he doesn't see an ace on the flop, does he then press the button? Well, that can't have helped either player, so Colclough will know that as well. But Colclough would have to be wary of a pair.
This is the move that Barry Hearn has used to perfection in this tournament.
About 240.
120. Pot size bet.
Well, it's not a bet till it crosses the line. But Barry looks like he's determined to put a chunker in.
That's a sizable amount.
Oh my.
Well, that's nearly all.
He's putting Dave Colclough all in!
Okay, 240.
And Colclough has but to call to be ahead for half the chips in the tournament.
Blimey. Oh. Colclough believes, or he doesn't believe, that Hearn's got a pair. But could Hearn have an ace with a bigger kicker?
What a beautiful
Very unlikely.
bet by Barry. I tell you what, he didn't bet small here. And I just, oh God, I don't see how Colclough can call, do you?
Well, there is the possibility he could call, but I don't see how he can, if you know what I mean. He's got to believe once again. He's being made to believe.
He's got his sniffer over the table. His eyes are dancing, and this is one of the best minds in poker.
Okay, he knows full well that the flop couldn't have hit Hearn. He knows if he had a big ace, he would have re-raised. But what about if he had a pair of sevens? It's such a tough call.
Surely you'd have raised before the flop if you had a pair.
Well, if they were a low pair.
Okay, you got one.
Oh, he's called it. What a call.
He has called, and it's a good call. Barry Hearn will have 6 outs to take Colclough out of the tournament, but
Just fancy a king or a queen.
What a marvellous read from Colclough. It was fantastic.
you have to tip your hat to the man.
Well, he deserves to win from now on in my opinion. What a marvellous call.
He's done
Nothing
everything.
wrong from Barry Hearn.
Did everything but call Barry's cards.
That would be a very good
Any
time
king, any
to see a
queen,
king or a
and it'll be a
queen.
nail to the coffin. Anything
another
else, and
opinion,
Colclough will have gotten what he
I just feel so
deserves.
good about it, and I'm probably wrong. I'm definitely wrong. Well played, Dave.
Ace high for a $548,000 pot, Steve.
Marvellous play. It was a great manoeuvre by Barry Hearn, but he was found with his hands in the cookie jar just once too often.
Well, hasn't that changed things? Dave Colclough no more than nip and tuck behind Ian Fraser. And Barry Hearn, the big bluff has sent him to third banana.
Not out.
Great to ask Dave Colclough what factors went into that call, but as it is, Barry Hearn's not out, but he is short and he'll have to get a move on.
Well, he truly believed that Barry Hearn would have raised with either a bigger ace
Pass.
or any pair. That's what he said. Barry Hearn needs to go all in and find something good. Perfect timing to do that. You couldn't pick a better spot.
Nice. This is
All in, and a call.
And Dave has called with the King Queen. It's a turnaround.
Oh, no.
Could he be doubled up? Could he be back in the game?
Very similar to the last one.
Yeah.
Ace Jack versus King Queen, but it's Hearn all in now, and
Well, he's in front,
he is in front.
but Colclough has 2 live cards. There's not much of a difference there, is there?
Not
You
really.
would think there'd be a bit more than that, but there's not. Another low flop.
Very similar flop to the last one.
Hello, 2 commentators in the room.
That has increased Hearn's percentage now. He's very strong, and a 5 would pretty much seal the deal. Ace would do the same. King or queen is what Colclough is looking for.
Ooh, I like that.
The end of the
And
story.
only
like that a lot.
Only a 6 can now.
Don't go giving me a queen
Or an
or
ace.
king now.
Yeah, ace or 6 would
Ace or a
split it.
6.
Excuse me. Edit that.
But
split
Barry Hearn cannot be knocked out at this stage, and he has in fact doubled up. So yeah, that's worth a bit of a sip.
Getting me up, bent down.
Well, Hearn, right on the back of a big loss, got a big win. He got it all in, and Colclough gave him fits and starts, but the straight, the bicycle ace 2, 3, 4, 5 has brought Hearn back into business.
I think there'll be a bit more action here quite soon, actually.
They were all in the semi-final together, the first semi-final. Now here they are left at the table. Big money being played for here. Next man out, of course, 50,000 in cash.
Yeah.
Second place gets 60,000, 65,000, excuse me. But it's 125,000 for the winner.
You might have them now.
So there is that top
Check.
payday in sight.
Colclough has checked top pair, or diddly one.
Red checked.
Fraser's got 2 overcards. If one comes there, it might have been interesting.
Check.
Oh, he's induced a
40,000.
bluff.
Call.
It's just been called.
They take some big gambles this day,
They
Colclough.
do, don't they?
What if it comes a jack or queen?
I know, but you've got to take some gambles to win. He's checked. Oh, this is great from Colclough, and he will call as well. Too small a bet.
50,000.
He will call, absolutely certain.
You want me to call?
Surely he'll
That was a
call.
bluffing bet.
What if he raises?
You wouldn't have it running 5s on me, would you? Yeah, this was my own fault for playing it so slow.
He's going to call.
And
And Fraser's wasted a certain amount of money there. Perhaps it had to be a bigger bet.
That's what I wanted you to think.
It's 100,000 in the Colclough stack. I don't know. He certainly has all kinds of gears here. Dave Colclough has really showed a unique way to accumulate chips. Sort of open the door and let the rain shine in.
You have to take risks, really, and sometimes you have to put yourself an offer to get chips, but you know, Fraser is guilty there of just getting involved in a hand he didn't really have to get involved with. It must have looked attractive to start betting, but he followed through on the river as well. He could have checked on the river.
He could have.
Or put a massive... He could have done loads of things, I know. I'm just looking at a way of damage limitation myself. In hindsight,
Pass.
very easy to talk.
Pass.
Good end.
He just
Good
reckoned
end.
Oh, shit.
it's been a long time since Dave Colclough was on top of the leaderboard. I think
It's the first time
gone about 70 hands.
that you've flung yours in.
He's been to hell and back again, that's for sure.
I had a king and all.
Yeah, but you must be like...
Psych.
This sense, this sixth sense you've got, it's frightening.
It's your right arm.
Is it because I'm twitching, is it?
No, you don't twitch.
With a few tells.
Fraser from the
I like it
button.
when he does the Hitler impression all the time.
Oh, I know.
Just trying to work out what it means.
Pass.
Very home with an attractive looking hand and worth a raise.
Raise.
Okay, raise. 40,000 more, 60 total.
Got that in just in time.
Be careful with those. If the chips are in the air, if they hit the ground, I suppose you can't say raise. At what moment does is it when they leave their hands, your hands, or if they land on the table?
I think it's before the chicken and after the egg.
Colclough's having a count up.
Well, I mean, King 5, it looks pretty good right now.
It does.
Little does Colclough know he's dominated, and if he sticks in this much money...
I'm 52 done. On top.
If he sticks in that much money, can Barry Hearn call? How committed is Hearn right now?
162, he said. The pot size of 80. No, he can't, can he? I don't think he can get him off it.
He thought better. I'll tell you what.
There is a There was the possibility also he had a credible hand as well.
Barry was squared up to the table and pretty much had line drawn in the sand. Whether he meant it or not, we'll never know.
I know him really well. I mean, I try to keep sort of a distance when I'm commentating on Barry, but I mean, yeah, obviously I'd love to see him win.
He was calling?
No, well, I don't know. Well, I think he may or may not. I don't know, but he would be so proud if he won a televised event at this level. Such a proud person. It would mean a great deal to him, as it would to all of them, I know. But
yeah, I mean, you talk about the prize money, but you just get the feeling watching this that it's the trophy and the title, and that goes for all three of these guys.
This is not the prize money for Barry Hearn. This is credibility and the thrill and winning at the highest possible level.
I just didn't think I'd be able to limp again for a while. It was either raised or...
Especially after I saw your cards.
Well, these...
I thought you might have been, you know, I thought you might have had a decent hand. And you was waiting for me to re-raise. It's funny how all mind games, ain't it? Drives you play.
Pass.
He's got the chip lead now. Is he tightening up?
Total.
Fraser's not.
Raised to 40,000 total, 20 to 4.
Hearn's got the aces.
He sure does. One thing we haven't seen Barry Hearn do.
Can he slow play these? He's never slow played them.
We have never seen him slow play a big pair before the flop. And
another 40.
Minimum
40
raise.
more. Now 80 total.
Minimum raise, and it's priced in Fraser with attractive looking cards.
It really has. Well, he's getting, I think, 3 to 1 here.
He's effectively got to call with an 8-9. Well, you'd think he's got to call. I mean, you know, we're talking here like we know exactly what's going through their mind. Would he put him on a minimum raise and a pair of aces? Has he got enough of a read on Barry Hearn?
You know, the best hand you can have to crack 2 aces is a 6-5 suited, they say, but 8-9 suited, not far away.
It's getting to the all-in stage with the size of the pot in relation to how many chips they've got in front of them. He's got to assume that if he doesn't hit the flop, and what's he looking to hit? This is a massive decision, The worst move, of course, would be the re-raise.
Certainly not recommended.
He's done it before. Not to this person, though.
When he grabs these big green chips, they usually go in, don't they?
Not again. Oh, is this one step too far for Ian Fraser?
Ian has roughly double what Barry Hearn has in his stack.
Is he looking at knocking him out?
Barry's praying for the all-in re-raise. He'd will those chips in if he could.
Call.
No.
He's called. Well, excitement to come from this hand. A very important flop. He's checked before the flop. He's checked before the flop. And 2 spades have come. Barry Hearn better play these very quickly. It's got to be all in.
I'm all in.
30,000 raised all in and a call.
Well, Fraser is behind, but it's Hearn that's all in, and there are 8 very live spades in this deck. That will make Ian Fraser's hand.
Good luck, mate.
It would be so cruel for Barry Hearn to get the aces cracked to get knocked out, but we've seen it before. It's a spade!
There's a spade.
And now Hearn has to redraw.
For another spade. Could it ever happen? You can't get your breath if it does.
No more spades left in that pack. Well played, son. Excellent.
A red card, and
I thought I'd touch you with a pair of aces.
Has got the aces cracked out of this tournament. He is our third place finisher.
No.
That's a hard way to fall.
No, it was great. No, I really enjoyed
Amazing
that.
action there.
Great game.
Brave from Ian
Can't be no
Fraser.
more than that, can you? I mean, I know.
He's rode his luck.
He's gone out
He's
of
in
the
the
races.
heads-up situation.
Oh, I wanted it so bad.
That last hand, the Rockets shot down. The money went in on the flop. Flush draw for Fraser, and didn't he hit it on the turn? 6 of spades made his hand. Hearn could not redraw, and flush beating 2 pairs.
Barry, an old poker story. Aces cracked to get knocked out.
Well, if you're going to go, that's the way to go, Jesse. You know, I wouldn't have played the hand any differently, and you know, Ian went for the flush draw and got it, and that's what poker's all about. But hey, what fun. I mean, I wanted him to bet with those aces, obviously, because I'd had aces a little while previous, and everyone had folded around, and you feel as if something, you know, one's got away. But we had the hook on, the fish was on the hook, and the fish bit me back.
2 left, and they're in like Flynn. There's Blondie, the brain, all the thoughts. And then there's Ian Fraser, bluff, bluster, and Mr. Action. There's not much between them.
Anybody who can beat Brian Wilson
this final table, and now 2 are left to settle a score. On one side, Dave Colclough, Blondie, with a slew of world titles to his name, but just that TV title has eluded him as of yet. On the other side, Ian Fraser, the $500,000 man. He's won here before, but would love to take down this champion, to seal his credentials. And between these two, there's not much. 2 champions and one to feel the pain, Steve Davis. How do you handicap it?
Well, obviously, Ian Fraser with the chip lead, 675,000 to 525. It's a lead. It's not necessarily that significant to the outcome. You'd shade Ian Fraser. He's got the opportunity to stand an all-in and survive.
Looking at those stats, Ian Fraser been more aggressive. He's won more pots, and I guess Dave Colclough has won the bigger ones when it's mattered. There's a lot of professional pride at stake here. A lot of glory, a lot of laurels, and whoever wins this tournament will certainly be worthy.
Call.
The Jimmy White hand.
Raise, 50,000 more, 70 total.
It's the type of hand you could call with, and if it hits, get big, but you can't keep on calling yourself away with
Fraser's hand. He's really started to pull away here as far as the cards go, and ace high is good right now.
50,000.
Is there a move to be made?
Pass.
Not yet. It's all going west. From Colclough's perspective,
That was the last
seems
hand of this level.
at this stage that
The new blinds was
the table is
15
on tilt
and 30,000.
in the direction of Ian
We're
Fraser.
going to change the dealer.
It certainly does. It has been a fight without a battle. Colclough now, just 2 lonely stacks here. He's down to about 300,000. Blinds 15 and 30,000. He may just be playing all in for the present being.
Well, he's called a few hands to try and hit the flop. That's not worked. He's got roughly 10 times the big blind.
He's got roughly 10% of his chips in right now in the big blind. And if Ian Fraser raises this hand from the button, it's very unlikely that Dave Colclough can call. I think he's found an ace again here.
He's got a fantastic run of cards in the heads-up department.
Raised. 50. Got to make it.
If Colclough's got anything,
Sorry.
Make it 60. Thank you.
I know I was doing something.
Raised. 60,000. Very
An
more to
all-in.
you, Dave.
It may not be time to panic. I don't know. He's having a count up.
I'm all in.
Re-raised. Re-raised. Ian's all in.
And I think he may be forced.
Well, there's no way he can toss those cards away, can he?
Can't. Although they're not bad cards, considering. He won't be too disappointed to see the outcome when the cards are turned over here.
Well, he's not far from 50-50.
If he knew that, he'd be straight in like a shot.
Come on.
This is it. It's Colclough versus Fraser. This pot, big. I think it's about 650,000, Steve. And Colclough in a must-win situation. He needs to catch a lady or his little friend. Nothing. But no ace yet, which leaves Dave still alive to 3 queens and 3 tens. This is dire. This looks like the end here.
One more card for the nearly man to get out of trouble.
He's done it before.
Yes!
Not this time! Ian Frazer has won the partypoker.com European Open.
Congratulations. Come on,
he came from the shortest stack on this final table to take this title, and he did it with flair, with style, and with a whole lot of moves. Colclough felt like his back was against the wall. It probably was. Queen 10, he needed to hit a pair, couldn't catch it, and the 2 kings on board with the ace kicker have ended this tournament and given Ian Frazer $125,000 and the trophy.
Ian Frazer, it is my pleasure to present you with this trophy, and let me say you have earned every inch of it.
Thank you very much.
Shortest stack to tournament winner at the final table today. What are your thoughts on what happened out there?
God, it was mad. It was mad. I don't know. What can I say? I mean, I've played. I tried to keep away from this guy for 2 days, and wound up heads up with him. Do you know what I mean? It was just the best ending to this tournament. Fantastic tournament. Again, they've laid on something really good. And I'm a little bit speechless. Not normally like me, but I am now.
Dave, commiserations, but a great day's work. 2 hands spring to mind, fascinating hands. The confrontation between Ian in that hand where neither of you knew where you were, and also then the great read on Barry Hearn with ace-8. Talk us through both of them.
Well, the first hand, quite the contrary, to be honest. We both knew exactly where we were. We both knew that neither of us had anything, and I just couldn't believe when he bet it and I raised him. I couldn't believe he could re-raise me back with nothing. I'm sat there and I think, but I've got nothing myself, you know. I just feel I got completely steamrolled by him, to be honest. The second hand was just one of those things. I just thought that Barry was making a move, and I just didn't think he had anything. My instincts were right, but I'm just like battered and bruised. I feel like I got completely run over there at the end by Ian. He played some great poker.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ian, I mean, that hand Steve was talking about, it seemed like all night you were willing to go that extra inch and just really put it all in.
It was without sounding, you know, a bit. I know it's all right now. We're both sitting on the settee, but to be honest, I always fancied it was going to come down to us 2 guys. And I know I was short stacked, but I did fancy that. That's why I kept away from him. And when it got to that hand, it was a time for me to let him know who was boss. Do you know what I mean?
And he did.
I had to do that, you know. Otherwise, if we got heads up, I didn't have any sort of hold over him.
Just when you think you've seen it all, it's lions and tigers that show you a new way through. I mean, poker, it's cards, it's chips, but it's not. It's about people, it's about hearts, it's about courage. Gotta love this game of poker.